Most people think funding a townhouse development works like a home loan. It doesn't. And if you walk into a project with the wrong funding strategy, you can get knocked back, stuck halfway through, or forced into a deal that never made sense in the first place. So today, Gavin and I are going to break down the three main ways to fund a townhouse development in 2026. Development finance, residential funding, and private funding. We'll explain who each one suits, what kind of project it works for, and the pros and cons you need to understand before you commit. Because the biggest mistake beginners make is choosing the site first, then trying to make the funding fit. Smart developers do it the other way around. They understand their funding first, then they find a project that matches. Let's get into it. Gav, when someone's funding a townhouse development project, why is it different to a normal loan?
Well, this is a good question, because a lot of people, particularly new developers, don't realise that one of the hardest things about a project or a property development is getting the finance. It really is one of the biggest sticking points that we encounter with our clients. And fortunately, a lot of people who come to us have already done a lot of homework, so it does make it a bit easier. But for someone who is just sort of starting out, you really need to understand this. So, most people know about your residential lending, and we can touch on it briefly. It's just an agreement with the bank where the bank really just needs to know about you as the individual, mainly suited to people who are going to buy and hold. Maybe investors, sometimes they just buy and they're going to hold the property for 30 years or whatever it might be. And the banks are happy with that. But then, we look at development finance. It's like similar to commercial finance, but it's a shorter agreement.
100%. I think that's where things escalate a bit, don't they? Because it's a shorter time frame and there's a genuine exit and there's probably an outcome rather than a 30-year stint with the risk being quite low. Being that shorter time frame, the stakes get a bit higher and they definitely look right through the development, valuations, all that sort of stuff.
That's right. With the residential, they're just interested about you and your ability to service the loan. With a development, they literally become a business partner. So it's like a JV with the lender. So they're pretty savvy. These guys that do the assessments within these organisations, they do this all day and probably do it themselves. So they know all the right questions. So they want to know who the builder is. What's your profit margin? They understand the market conditions. They look at your development strategy, even and they'll go through that with a fine-tooth comb. So for them to invest in your project, they're going to invest in you and your strategy and the market and the risk. So they're going to be very, very thorough.
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably where we see that it is quite a liquid space, an evolving space, because they are dealing with things that are moving in the short term. So whether that's, like you said, sort of interest rates, market sentiment, all these sort of things go into their, I guess, mixing pot to figure out where their appetite sits and how motivated they are to maybe get into business with you.
Yeah, they're going to want to know what you know about the builder. They're going to want to know your assessment on the comparison sales. And then they're not just going to say, okay, well, he's got 5 in the area, that box is ticked. They'll go into each one. And they'll really do the research and do the groundwork. As you should have as a developer. They're going to go through that same process that you have. You're just going to provide them the information, and chances are sometimes they're going to come back with some hard questions. Yeah,
for sure. And they definitely, they scrutinise, they'll get expert valuations done, all that sort of stuff. And that's probably another good point is having a broker that is privy to this information and has some experience in it, because a broker dealing with the lenders that understands what the lenders want, what they want to see, and the expertise involved, and they can not sell it to the lenders, but present it in a way that's able to be understood.
Yeah, look, we've spoken on this podcast many times about having the right team, and you can be assured when looking at taking on development, I guess, on a business level or as a career, whichever it may be, having a good broker is really important part of that team. With your accountant as well. So you can sort of, I guess, get things structured from the start properly with your accountant, but at the same time, you're already having those conversations with your broker about what your strategy is, not just for this project, but for the next project as well. And they can be, I guess, be a bit more aggressive with the lending strategy. And it's not black and white. There's different ways of going about things. I've structured things a little differently over the journey as well, just to sort of get a better deal, which was market dependent at the time as well. So yeah, it is super important to have someone who is, I guess, in the development space.
Yeah, 100%, Gab. Definitely a good broker. You touched on the accountant there, though. I think that's very equally important, sometimes as your broker, because figuring out your strategy, whether you're a buy and hold and you want to develop something and you want to just hold it, you want to enjoy the benefits of depreciation and negative gearing on new property and those sorts of things with the accountant, or is this start a company and something that you're going to do a bit of and start a trust and talk distributions and all these sorts of things? That strategy from the outset, I feel like the broker and the accountant sort of work side by side.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess if you're going to talk about the process a little bit, you want to start with your accountant, talk about what you want to do over the next 12 months to 12 years. And then you want to go and have a look at, I guess, a typical development. Do your feasibility, get your numbers in place, and then you go and talk to your broker and say, look, this is sort of what I think I can do. You take a look at this particular strategy and tell me how you think I'm going to be able to finance it. And they're going to come back probably with a set of guidelines that you need to work within. And that might be more restrictive, or it might give you a bit more money and allow you to do something a bit bigger if you chose.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the best way to figure out what your strategy is going to look like and what your type of development is going to look like. And all those things go hand in hand. So optimizing your situation from an accounting point of view, super important, but then the broker's got to be able to fund it and facilitate it and sort of make it all happen. So like you said, that might mean that, we can only maybe do this type of project, or maybe we should be looking, eyes wide open a bit more and look at another type of project.
Depending on what the marketplace is at the time and what the broker can get for you through the lenders, you might only be able to get 70% or even 60% of the gross realisation value, so the GRV, or even could be a percentage of the total project cost. So what that means is if you can only get, say, 75% of a total project cost, then you've already been doing your feasibilities, as we're saying. You're going in fairly warm. You can start to understand how much cash you need based on the current lending conditions, which then determines the type of project you can do.
Yeah, spot on. And that might be the type of project. Also, that might be what sort of areas we're playing in as well. So that might be, okay, we're in a higher end suburb doing a higher end product, or all those things need to come down a bit and your suburb needs to dial back a bit. Your build might, likely dial back a bit with that suburb that you've chosen. So super important to, get that strategy right, get your budget right, and then it means you can then hone in on an area, start doing the work and start having those combos.
So many people, you start this journey, you read your books, you go to a couple of seminars, you get into our network, you get all excited, and you go out and you start driving the streets. You start talking to agents, you do all these things. You might spend 6 months, you might spend a year doing all this research and think, geez, I'm really on top of this. Then you go talk to your broker and he just puts a pin in it.
He puts a pin in it and says, hey mate, you're out here, or you're doing this type of development, and you've been, eyes have been too big for your stomach.
That's right. So that, again, just coming back quickly, you want to sort of get an idea of what you want to do, get some numbers together, then go and talk to your broker, and then go out and do all the hard yards.
Yeah. Then you get to, and then if you come across something that actually works, then you're a chance. But rather than cart before the horse sort of stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to be sort of halfway there and find the perfect development site, because they don't come around very often. Rarely, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be ready to jump, because you don't want to find something and then go and talk to your broker and think, oh, hang on, I'm not even in the ball game here. I'm out.
Yeah, it's wasted energy. Hey, can we talk? There's probably 3 different funding strategies that we see. We talk about the residential stuff, which is probably more lower risk and buy and hold for the long term, and we see people doing that in their own names and enjoying the depreciation and the negative gearing and that sort of stuff. Then we see more the development finance, which is your build, develop and sell, rinse and repeat type stuff in companies. Then we sort of see private funding, groups that lend out money, or individuals, high net worth individuals that lend out money to certain projects. Can we sort of touch on those 3 and just, high level what your thoughts are on them, and what type of projects, they may get used for.
So, yeah, with your residential lending, it helps your personal situation with negative gearing. I mean, there's been a few changes in that recently, but I think the situation we're talking about here will be fine. As you say, with the development finance, that really is probably the go-to for most people. Particularly if again, it depends on the market. If the market's going well, and you're going to build to sell, unless you're in a situation where you've got a lot of capital already, and a couple of clients we've got, they're happy just to build and hold, and they're building their portfolio. So that is definitely a way to go, and you're going to need a bit more cash for that. But at the same time, keeping in mind with the development finance, you don't have to pay month to month. So that interest is paid out at the end of the project. So it gives you, I guess, some flexibility. So yes, you need a bit more up front, and you probably need to do a lot more due diligence, and there's a bit of work to be done to get the lender to come on board. But at the same time, it helps with your personal cash flow from month to month, because you're not paying off the loan until the end of it. So it does balance out there a bit. Then with the private finance, that typically, I guess, you need a bit more money up front. And we do have a bit of that happen through our system here, through our network. Just high level, their situation is they'll buy the land and pay for all of the soft costs in cash, and then borrow the rest for the build. And it's around the similar sort of rate as a commercial or development loan. In this situation, these private lenders, they know us as a business, they know how we work, they know our systems, they know that we're, very risk adverse and do a great job. So, they're also going to assess the project, no doubt, and the person they're going to work with. But at the same time, they know that that's all put through our system, and they know that we deliver.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think just another point on the private funding is sometimes when you have maybe multiple people come together, equity partners, and you might have 6 in a project, and they all put in their bit of money up front, and then you get the private funding just to finish the project off, or finish off nearly the second half. But when usually going to a bigger lender with maybe 6 different parties would be definitely a nightmare. It's much more straightforward.
That would be a challenge, yeah. So we've got groups that have done that through our system here, and we just point them in the right direction, the right accountant. We give them a bit of a background on how the structure might look, and then they go away and they talk to the the professionals, the consultants, and they have all that structure put in place, unit trust, whatever it might be, and it's all done upfront, done properly. You invest the money, and that group is then solidified, and so is the strategy, and from there it does become quite easy.
Full steam ahead. Gav, what are your thoughts on first-time developers, beginners, who want to get into this? You've sort of touched on maybe some things done backwards, but wrapping it up, what would you say, are there, that you see the main mistakes that they're making?
Oh, look, like we touched on before, going out and doing so much work before talking to your broker. I think it's really important, and I think you would talk to your accountant first, because that's the key person. That's almost your key partner, apart from having a good builder, and consultants. But have a talk to them, and maybe they can recommend someone in the development space who know, not just have the right connections and the right experience, but just also be a bit of a forward thinker, a bit more creative in the way that they go about things. And creative doesn't have to add more risk. It just means that, it's understanding the market really, really well, and understanding what the lenders require for that market in that state, and being able to navigate through those challenges to find, I guess, the most cost efficient and cheap way, of actually getting the money in without it being too laborious with the amount of information you have to provide.
Yeah, no, good one, Gav. And for everyone playing along at home, sitting down with your people, your accountant, your broker, and figuring out what's likely will definitely cut out a lot of time and a lot of homework, probably maybe on developments and types of developments that aren't really in your wheelhouse anyway. All research is good research, but you don't want to burn time either, especially if it keeps you on the sidelines for longer and potentially you miss out on market growth or something like that. So you miss out on some opportunities.
Well, you're on the front line, right? So you do speak to a lot of people that come to us in their very early stages, and I'm sure that you'll find that a lot of people just aren't sorted yet when it comes to finance.
No, 100%. And that's definitely, we sort of push people off to, speak to your broker. Are you speaking to your accountant? Do you need to be connected with anyone? Are you speaking to your own people? Whatever it is, and my advice just always is, whoever it is, whether it's through someone we refer or someone through your own circles, doesn't really matter, as long as those people know what they're doing in the small property development townhouse space. And they've maybe got other clients that are doing it. Maybe they're doing it themselves. They're the ones that are really fingers on the pulse, the ones that don't really touch it, but say, yeah, we'll sort you out. Like it's just not the same thing. Yeah. So yeah, as long as you're dealing with people that have expertise in it.
Yeah, we've had a couple come in, two guys come in, partners. Recently, they do have a few runs on the board. They've done one before. They've done all their homework. They've come to us with so much information already, and they've got development finance. They've got they can lend 80% of the total project cost, and they've got their rates. So that's a great deal. So they've obviously done all that work, and I can literally hit the ground running. And if I find a site for them tomorrow, I know that their finance is sorted, and also with my feasibility, I can also now get the right inputs into that feasibility from very early stages, and be more aggressive on finding sites for them. Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, the outputs are only as good as the inputs, Gav.
That's right.
Gav, awesome. Plenty of value there. Plenty for people to chew on. Great as always. We'll see you in a week or two.
Look forward to it.
Nice one. If you're serious about property development and want to go deeper, here's how we can help. First, join the Little Fish Network. It's our free community where developers share real projects, strategies, insights every day. The link's below. If you need a site, we can help source and secure the right development opportunity for you through our buyer's agent service. If you want access to me, I offer one-on-one mentoring, so you've got me in your corner when you need it. And if you want it done for you, our expert team handles end-to-end project management. And if you're ready to move, book a call with me below, and we'll map out the best path forward for you and your project. And if you're still here, I appreciate you sticking around right to the end. Do me a favor, give the video a hype and a like and drop a comment. I read and reply to them all. And it really helps the channel and helps us keep creating this content for free. I'm Peter Kelly. Till the next one, see you at the top.